Hey everyone. Today we're talking about something that can feel really uncomfortable and it's really important for our personal growth. Receiving feedback. Maybe your manager just gave you a critique, or your spouse or your child, or a colleague shared a suggestion, or a friend pointed something out to you that made you feel a little uncomfortable. Your first reaction isn't usually, oh, tell me more. It's usually something internal that is uncomfortable. Maybe we get defensive, maybe we feel embarrassed, or we want to make excuses. Or I know that I'm always like, well, if they really understood what I was doing or what my
hmm
intentions were, then they would feel differently. And so that's the defensive mode, but shows up for me as I want people to know. It's normal. All of those feelings are very, very normal. Receiving feedback can feel threatening. It can throw us into fight, flight, or freeze without us even knowing. And it often touches on our hidden fears, like mine of being misunderstood. So, today we are going to take some time to hear a story and walk through our 6 step process to discuss how we can receive feedback in a productive way and give some tips in the process. Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together. Okay, so I'm going to share a story. This I feel like I've shared this story before, but very relevant. Probably relevant for all the things that we talk about because it's such a prime example of my behavior. So when I was working at an organization, I think I told this story. So my supervisor had it was it was an assessment,
Oh, yeah.
like how
Yeah.
you are as an employee, remember? And
Yeah.
it was, and the the results of my assessment were that on a scale of 1 to 10, my sociability was 1. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even go to 0. I think if it went to 0, then it would probably be a 0. So we're sitting in my office and he's so nice. He came in and we all knew this was going to happen, right? We all knew we were going to take this assessment and then you were going to sit down and talk with, the CEO of this company, like one on one. He came in, he was so kind and just like the kindest human being. And we are going over these results and he pointed out to me, we're both looking at it on the paper and I'm like, oh, sociability, that was a 1. And he just kind of looked at me and I just kind of looked at him. And I was like, is this a problem? I could tell by his face that perhaps he thought it was a problem. It was a little bit problematic. In my mind, I was like, and um, anyways, he was so very kind and very generous. He was like, I think that it would be helpful if others had an opportunity to get to know you. I was like, why do people need to get to know me? I just need to come to work and do my job, right? And I can't even tell you all of the things that he said because I don't remember. I just remember enough that like my first thought was this is stupid. I That's always my first thought. Second, behavior was to roll my eyes, but internally, not in front of him. And the third um was okay, let me just sit down and just listen. It sounds like this is important to other people. I should take some time to be open and just listen to hear what he has to say. So, can't even tell you what he said. I just remember he said whatever he said was enough and in a way that caused me to reflect. Like it really facilitated some personal reflection. And I was okay with that. And I think about this experience all the time, especially as it relates to my coworkers, because My door is always closed. I told you my door is always closed. Still, even now, it's always closed. And it's not because I don't appreciate connecting with people. I'm just very task oriented. So, and people walking past, I happen to be situated. I'm always situated by like an exit or an entrance. Right now, I'm by an exit, and people walk past my office all the time. But if I leave my door open, people are gonna come talk to me. It's so fine, but also so not productive. It doesn't help me to be productive. So I sat and I listened and I recognized that like this was really important for other people, this connection component that I was missing. And so I made some changes and they weren't drastic changes, they were small changes, but I made enough changes that I felt like I was able to connect with people a little bit more. I didn't get any feedback about whether or not others were feeling the same way. I know for me, for sure, I just by the fact that people were coming in and talking or discussing or knocking on my door and asking if I had a moment to talk, I could tell that there was a little bit more connection. So that was really hard for me because I didn't think anything was wrong with what I was doing.
Right.
And I certainly didn't want to change because how am I supposed to be productive if I got to sit here and talk to people all day long, right? Um,
Talk
but it
to
was,
coworkers, not your client.
yes, my coworkers, yeah, not my clients, yeah, be terrible. Um, but yes, and so it required some overnight processing. I went home, I thought about it. I may have talked about it with my partner, but I don't remember if I did. I just remember thinking about it over, the space of a couple days and recognizing that I could make some changes that might make others feel maybe that I'm approachable because I really am approachable. I'm just task oriented. And so my mind is always thinking about a task.
Hmm.
So that is my story on receiving feedback. It was not, well, if he was listening to this, he'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that tracks for you." But it was hard. It was hard to hear
Yeah.
that what I was doing and what I thought I was doing to be productive was problematic in some ways. That was really hard to hear.
And when it's part of your personality.
Yes, it is. It is.
And it's like, oh, part of your personality is difficult. Like
Yes.
that is really, or
Your personality sucks.
I mean,
He wasn't saying that by
and it
any.
sounds like he presented it in a way that he wasn't saying it like
No,
that,
no, not at
but
all.
almost people that are really good at and skilled at giving feedback, the receiver, like it hits hard because you're like, oh, they're like
Yeah,
100% correct and
yeah.
kind, and I need to do something about this. So let's go through the 6 steps as the receiver. So, not critiquing how the feedback was given, but how the receiver, how do we receive feedback? So, always number one, get super clear on the goal. So, when you know feedback is coming,
Mhm.
like you're going into your annual review and you know you're going to get feedback, you can go in super clear. How do I want to behave in this situation? What do I want to gain from this situation? What insights do I want to take away from this situation? How can I show up? What questions can I ask? How can I get curious about this? How do I get to a state of wanting to grow and progress and expand? And also maybe giving yourself a little bit of like I'm a good person and I might hear hard things. And even though I'm struggling on the outside, I'm still good on the inside. Like, give yourself a little pep talk too if you need to when you're going into receiving feedback.
For sure. And recognizing that, yeah, there's always room to grow, right?
Absolutely.
I'm always, whenever I know that I have some feedback, I'm like, okay, Rosemary, there's always room to grow. Like, what can we take away that will allow us to be a better practitioner or a better person or a better colleague? Like, that is my thought. And I actually was not imagining that we would be talking about sociability. I didn't know what we would be talking about because I had never seen this assessment before, and
Hmm.
I probably didn't read what I was being assessed on before the meeting. But I did not think that that was going to be something that we were discussing. So even just having like being clear about, okay, going into this feedback session, these are the things that are going to be assessed, right? Or these are
Yeah.
the things that are going to be discussed. So at least I can be prepared and open for receiving that and know even knowing how this is going to help me be better at my job. Like I think that
Mhm.
can be really, really helpful too. Step number two is notice what you're not doing. So, before you can get better at receiving feedback, you have to take an honest look at your current behavior and not just what you do, but what you don't do. Often we think we're handling feedback, but there are subtle ways we're holding ourselves back. Ask yourself, you guys can probably answer all these questions for me. Am I really listening? Or am I already planning my defense? Do I pause and reflect, or do I react immediately? Do I ask questions to understand, or do I assume I know what that person means? Am I separating my sense of self from the feedback, or do I take it personally? And I think that this is probably one of the biggest questions we can ask. You don't have to be fused with your feedback, right? You don't have to. That is not your sense. That is doesn't that can be separate from your sense of self, right? And so recognizing that like maybe we're getting fused with some of this feedback that we're hearing or some of these suggestions that may be made and our actual sense of self. And do I acknowledge and thank the person or do I dismiss or ignore their input? Now, I did not dismiss or ignore his input. I certainly was kind of like not listening and I really was planning my defense. And my defense was, how can I be productive if people are talking to me all the time? Right. And I 100% reacted immediately. I told you I was rolling my eyes, not so you can see internally rolling my eyes, right? Definitely not pausing and reflecting. I think I did ask questions to understand because I was very confused why this was such a big deal to people. Um, and of course, my assumptions were incorrect. It was coming from a place of connection and not necessarily a place of, uh, I don't know, not wanting to be productive. Most people want to be productive, but actually just noticing the behaviors that we're not doing that make feedback feel threatening can be really, really helpful in receiving that.
So when we start to notice the things that we're not doing and even the things that we are doing, it starts to reveal our hidden commitments. So what are the things that we're actually really committed to? So when we start to get defensive or whatnot, like, oh, what is it because what's being revealed to you is you're like, oh, I was supposed to be like the person that's easy to get along with in the office, or I was supposed to be the approachable one, and you're telling me that I'm not. And so your worries and things are starting to be revealed, and you're starting to see what you're actually truly committed to. And so, if you want to be someone that's always reliable and you're being told that, oh, you fell short in these areas, you're like, wait, I thought that I was the reliable one, and you don't see me as the reliable one, or you're criticizing me, so I'm failing and I'm committed to always being productive, or, just protecting our these commitments that we don't even know that we have sometimes.
Yeah,
We really are truly, we end up being so devoted to that we can, it, in feedback, we are off, our hidden commitments are often revealed as we receive feedback.
for sure. Next is examine your big assumptions. Beneath those commitments are the big assumptions driving them, such as if I make a mistake, it proves that I'm incompetent. Or if someone's pointing out my mistakes, like I'm incompetent. Now I look incompetent for my boss. If I accept criticism, I lose status, or that means that I'm not perfect at what I'm doing. I'm not doing a job well done. If or people only give feedback to judge, not help, right? All of those assumptions are key because once they're visible, we can start testing them out in real life. If I accept criticism, and I know this logically, I think we all know this logically, like if you can accept feedback, for sure you're not looking at someone who loses status. Every leadership training you will ever hear will com completely prove the opposite, right? But emotionally, this is kind of what we're feeling, and we turn this into a truth. So examine those and then move on to step five.
Yes. So this is where we get to experiment. We get to try out and test some of these, test our big assumptions. So we're going to give you a few steps of things that you can do. So when you are first receiving feedback, you can pause and regulate yourself.
Mhm.
Take a breath. We talk about this all the time. And this helps you if you didn't get clear before you went into that feedback meeting, get clear now. And
Mhm.
you can say, I am grounded and I am curious. I
Mhm.
am good on the inside, even though I may be struggling on the outside. That is from Dr. Becky, if any of you, but Dr. Becky Kennedy. Number two, listen fully. Let the person finish without interrupting. Focus on understanding and not defending. So take a deep breath, listen fully. Now get curious, ask clarifying questions, and separate yourself from the feedback. Can you give me an example? What would success look like in this situation? Help me understand what you're thinking. Really get curious. Separate yourself from that feedback through your curiosity. And just really remember that feedback's not about you as a person, it's just about a situation. And it's great because you can do something about it.
Mhm.
And then reflect before responding with gratitude, not just before responding, but responding with gratitude. Take time to process and then respond in a way that you are expressing gratitude for the feedback. And you don't have to do it immediately. You can send it a few days later and you can say, thanks so much for that feedback meeting. I really appreciated the insights that I gained and share some of those insights, which then just helps connection with that individual.
And finally, reflect and adjust. So after the conversation, reflect on what went well and what didn't. Notice any hidden fears that came up for you and how they influenced your behavior. One of the things that I love to do in the midst of a situation where I am feeling really defensive, or I can start to feel those emotions or my nervous system kind of responding or reacting to what I'm hearing, is I like to take what we call in compassion focused therapy a soothing breath, right?
Mhm.
So just engaging in some soothing breathing. And I think about it as like soothing. And so just inhaling in, and just as I'm exhaling, just thinking about my nervous system just soothing itself and it's slow. That is really helpful for me in being able to listen. I can't hear when I am not grounded. I'm sure many people are like this, but when we can engage in these steps, we create a conversation that gives us a chance to build confidence and test our assumptions, right? We create this experience for us. And then we can pivot and change, or we can keep doing what we're doing in a way that is much more productive. So, what's their homework, Elizabeth?
The homework is to notice when one piece of feedback that you get, just you could practice this on little things when your kids tell you something, your spouse tells you something, or you can do it at work too. But just notice one piece of feedback, pause, regulate, really listen, get curious about it, separate yourself from it, and reflect with gratitude. And the more you experiment, the easier it becomes to turn feedback, receiving feedback, into a real strength and less threatening and just overall better in life.
Also, isn't it just nice to be around someone who can receive feedback in a positive way?
Absolutely.
I don't even want to say
Absolutely.
positive, like just in an open way. It makes such a big difference when you feel like you can talk with someone in an open way and they can receive it. I don't know. I want to be that kind of person.
It really creates a collaborative environment.
Mhm.
And because, I mean, we all get defensive over just things all the
Mhm.
time. And
Mhm.
so it's really, it's really great when
Yeah.
people can be open.
Connect with us. We want to see you, hear you, learn from you, communicate with you. Find us on Facebook at Develop Confidence in Relationships Through Effective Communication Skills. Visit our website on communicateconnectthrive.com. You can email us at communicationskillsforwomen@gmail.com. Until then, speak clearly and listen bravely, especially when you're receiving feedback. When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.